All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. More of a balanced day today. Yesterday we had a pretty heavy sell-off from about 4,100 overnight highs down to almost 3,900. Almost a 200-point drop yesterday. Clearly, that wasn't a balanced day. Today, no clear direction. Sellers weren't in charge, buyers weren't in charge. That's my first definition of a balanced day. Second is we're basically in between overnight highs and overnight lows. We broke overnight highs a couple times, but couldn't hold it. Fell right back into balance, and we just stayed in between these two levels. Overnight highs of 39.32, overnight lows of 38.56. Just stayed in between it. So before going into the day, I had no prediction in mind. As I always say here, we don't predict here. We just play off of our zones. Read the price once it gets into those zones. Go long, short, depending on how we're reading it. But before the day, we had three supply zones. One here at 38.92. That was created a couple hours for the open bell. I'm going to go ahead and erase that, delete it, because we ripped right through it literally the second minutes from the open. So wasn't strong. Second zone is a 4-hour zone at 39.05. That was created overnight. We have a nice drop, heavy drop, base candle, and then drop after that. 4-hour zone at 39.05 here. And that actually was created after rejecting off of a 30-minute supply zone that was created yesterday at 39.32, you can see here. And then off of this steep drop, we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. There's like 10 supply zones created yesterday. You have a 30-minute here at 39.60 almost. We have a 90-minute. This red line's the daily. We have a bunch of 15-minute supply zones here. So I'm not going to get into all that. I was just worried about these two. Once these two firmly broke, then I would have started looking at this. But don't worry about it. We didn't even get close to it. So we're just focusing on this 4-hour zone and this 30-minute zone. On the demand side, 2 demand zones as well. We have a 2-hour demand zone at 38.62. That was created a couple years ago, or a little bit over a year actually. And we bounced off of this zone, off of that major low we made last Thursday. And then we bounced off of it again last night, overnight. In the process of bouncing off of that, we made a 1-hour demand zone here at, this looks to be off a little bit. Let me correct that. At about 38.67. So we got a new demand zone that was formed off of an old demand zone. That's exactly what you want to see. That may stop the drop from yesterday. This indicates new buyers in the market. Doesn't mean it'll hold, but as you can see, it did. We didn't get down there. But anyways, these are the two of the demand zones that we're looking at for the open bell. Once again, overnight highs at 38.30 or 39.33, and overnight lows at 38.56. And let's jump into it. Zoom in here. All right, so off the open bell, we ripped for about first 10 minutes into this 4-hour supply zone. We get about 10, 15 points into it, drop from here. I try not to trade within the first, 30 minutes, even hour sometimes, especially after, heavy volatility that we saw yesterday. Sometimes the stuff is just a little unpredictable, even these supply and demand zones. But even if I was going to short this, I was going to wait for a lower high in the on at least a 5-minute time frame. As I always say, if you're not waiting for much confirmation, you're just shorting off of these zones. Cool, you could have got a nice, 30, 40 point short off of this. Came back up, actually did make a lower high. Let's say we didn't know. Let's say, the time right now is actually 9:10, 9:15, and this is what we're looking at. Yeah, we made a lower high here. We have some low 5-minute buying. And that's what I look for. But the reason why I didn't take it was, one, we bounced and made a higher low off of the major low from last week. Meaning we may be strong. We may, that may fuel some buyers. We may rip right through the supply zone. Two, I look at the NASDAQ, not only ES here. The NASDAQ is the second largest major index. And it, they move correlated to each other. It created a 4-hour supply zone just like this one. And we had already broken through it at this point. Usually when you see that, that means this may be less reliable. So that was in my head. So that's why I didn't take this short. Sure enough, we actually did make a new high. So I probably would have been stopped out anyways. Then we drop again, make a higher low off of this 38.75 intraday low. Come back up, kind of hover around the tip of this supply zone. which, you probably could have got some short scalps off of it for about 10, 15 points. Once again, I didn't take a trade off of it, but finally at about 10:30 Central Time, we rip through it, break through this 4-hour supply zone. So this is gone, and now we're getting into this 30-minute supply zone here at 39.33. Just because that big 4-hour supply zone doesn't broke doesn't mean that it's such a strong move and we're just going to break through this small 30-minute supply zone. The time frame itself doesn't matter really. I'd say the 15-minute zones, 15-minute time frame is weaker than anything over that, but really anything about 30 minutes and above, it doesn't matter if it's a 30-minute zone or a 4-hour zone or anything in between. It's all about the sharp move that happens after it. So just because we broke through that 4-hour supply zone doesn't mean we're going to break through this smaller time frame of the 30-minute. And as you can see, we did not break it. This is where I got my only play of the day. We come up here, we make a new high at 38.36, drop down to about 39.15. And this was kind of a sharp rejection where at this point I'm getting ready to short. I'm looking for a spike to get closer to this, either closer to the high of day or back into the supply zone to minimize my risk and maximize my reward. We crawled back near the high of day levels. As you can see, we had decreasing volume on the 5-minute chart, indicating the buying isn't that strong. So once we get right back over here and make a lower high, I'm switching my eyes to the 1-minute chart, looking for weakness here. And as we start to sell off, I take a short position at about 39.25 with profits of about 15 points down to about 39.10, because this is where the previous resistance was. And I was speculating that it may act as support. We got a drop faster than I thought. So I took my profits right about 39.11 for, a good 10, 15 point move in a minute or two. So I'm definitely happy with that. That was my only short position of the day, or any position at all. But from there, we consolidated for about 10 minutes, low 5-minute buying. You probably could have got a position off of this, and then continue to dump. We got about an extra 30 points off of that. So I could have held through all of that, but at this point, I'm kind of being greedy. I'm content with my 10, 15 point play, and moving on from there. But it did continue dropping. Surprisingly, we did not create demand off of this rip earlier. We didn't really create supply off of this collapse. But it's about midday here, 12 o'clock, and we are just kind of consolidating before making a move up. Let's see, getting closer to 1 o'clock, we made a move up. In the process, we created a 30-minute demand zone. Go ahead and draw that out. You can see the drop, base, rally. Let's see here, edit, make this green. $30 minutes. All right. So that zone was formed at, this rip candle started at 12:30, ended at 1 o'clock. So 1 o'clock Central Time, go to the 1-minute chart. We now have a 30-minute demand zone. We almost actually dropped right into it, didn't quite touch it though. Made some high lows after almost touching it. If you're going to play off of some leeway, you probably could have got a position off this, but I like to wait for my zones to actually touch. Once you start giving it some leeway, that you get kind of greedy, and that leeway, next thing you know, you're trading when it's 10 points away instead of a couple points away. So I wanted to actually touch before I actually take my positions. But it did rip up from there. From here, we got back near this high of day. We actually broke it and broke this 30-minute supply zone. So this zone is gone. Broke over overnight highs, but just could not hold. Once we were up here, I did kind of think about shorting. I did not, but the reason why I thought about shorting, even though we broke this supply zone, was because NASDAQ was weak. It was actually making lower highs as this made a new high, and so was Apple. I think Apple was right here, wasn't even close to high of day. That's the most heavily weighted stock equity under this index. Tesla, same thing, not even close to high of day. Microsoft, same thing, not even close to high of day. So usually when you see that, that just gives you sort of a prediction that this may not hold and it may break. that I'm not going to trade off of that. Ideally, I want to see a supply zone that's it's also rejecting off of, but you probably could have taken a trade off of that. I didn't, but it did reject about 40 or 50 points off of that. Came into this 30-minute demand zone. Before I get into that, so after it dropped here, we also created a 30-minute supply zone. Not going to draw a box. I'm just going to draw a line here so I don't clutter the chart. 30 minutes, and that was at 39.11 or so, and that closed off of this candle. This candle started at 2 o'clock, so that means it closed at 2:30. So at 2:30, we now have a 30-minute supply zone off of this drop, and the next 30 minutes, it just kind of balanced in between this 30-minute demand zone that was created at 1:30, I think 1 o'clock I said, and this 30-minute supply zone that was created at 2:30. We actually got a good touch into it at 2:45. You could have made a trade off of that. I didn't trade because I didn't get much confirmation off of it. As always, I want to see a lower high on at least a 5-minute time frame. And second reason was because we were getting close to the closing bell, and it tends to be a little volatile and less predictable at that time. But you could have got some scalps. Maybe you got a scalp here long. Maybe you got a scalp here short. A little risky in my opinion, but technically you could have done it. And that's where we ended. Ended right around a little bit below 3,900. So, like I said, overall balance day today. We got one good short off of a 30-minute supply zone here. Clear lower high before a heavy sell-off. Could have got maybe a couple more plays here. A couple scalps here. But overall balance day. So we got a couple zones that were formed today. We'll see what happens overnight. We'll see if these zones are still here tomorrow. More than likely, we'll probably create some more zones overnight and create some more zones intraday tomorrow. But be careful. As always, we don't predict. This is a very volatile market, so you have to, watch your plays. Don't predict. Just chart these zones, and once they get into these zones, read the price. If it looks weak, short. If it looks strong, go long. It's as simple as that. All right, I'll see you guys later.